This is the plaintiff, Timothy Curtin. He says he met the defendant on a dating site, and they were in an intimate relationship for 11 months. The woman used his credit card for a car rental. The opportunist scammer won't reimburse him, and he's suing her here and now for the $2,570.38 he's owed. This is the defendant, Anne Ranfone. She says the louse of a plaintiff was on dating sites while they were together. She paid the car off in full. He kept it longer and used it. And any bill he's trying to get her to pay is his, and she refuses to give him another dime. She's accused of taking advantage of a boyfriend.
All parties, please raise your right hands. The People's Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Leontown presiding. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Curtin, apparently you and Ms. Ranfone had been in a relationship. How did you two meet?
On Match.com.
The website, the dating site?
Yes.
Okay, and how long were you dating?
Approximately 11 months.
All right, and what happened here that you ended up putting a rental in your name, according to you, for her?
After about 3 months into our relationship, she had told me that she had sold her house, and I invited her to live with me. The relationship at that point was going very well. Or at least I was under the impression that it was. She agreed to move in. She moved in furniture, dining room sets, and so forth. And we lived together in an intimate relationship for those following 8 months. During that term, approximately June, she came to me with a story that her car's engine blew and that she needed to get a rental. So we went to the rental agency, and she turned to me and asked me if I could put it on my card because something like her credit card didn't have enough value left on it for her to do it. As part of our relationship, we did not commingle funds. As far as I was concerned, her expenses were hers, mine were mine. And I didn't charge her rent to live with me either because I was hoping that she could get back on her feet after divorce. She told me that she would pay me back once she went to the warranty for the car in about a week or two and would pay me back for the rental. So about 2 weeks later...
I don't know what that means, that she would pay you back. How would she pay you back? If she had if she was entitled to rent a car, she would have just rented it that way.
Well, she asked me to put it on my credit card. So apparently, whatever
I understand that. How were you, whatever a warranty that you have on a car, if the dealership is supposed to give you another car, you wouldn't be involved. The dealership would just have given her another car. So that's why I'm wondering what you thought she meant and why it made any sense to you at all.
She told me she would pay me back for the rental in about a week or two. She was going to seek whatever resources she had to get the car adjusted for that monies.
Except for the car ended up being rented for 2 months. How did it go from a week or two to 2 months?
Through continued lies from Anne. Every week she would tell me stories such as they had to get another engine for the car. Another week later, I would ask her about it, and she said, well, the engine was no good. There was something wrong with it, and they had to order another engine. This went on for about another 2 or 3 weeks, with continued stories and also stories.
How did it go for 8 weeks? Because that's 8 weeks.
I continued to accept.
I'm wondering, how does it go for 8 weeks? No, when does your light bulb over your head turn on and you have to use your own reason as opposed to someone who's telling me lies? Because you don't strike me as the kind of guy who doesn't know what he's doing. And I'm just trying to understand why the car was rented for 8 weeks. Because for her to pay for it that whole time, I have to know that this was something that she was supposed to pay for and that it was solely for her benefit, et cetera, which she contests. Correct, Ms. Ranfone? According to you, why was the car rented for 2 months?
The car was rented for 2 months. I drove it for a brief period of time, and we continued to he drove it on a vacation to New Hampshire and then a vacation to Niagara Falls and continued to drive it from there. until the car
Okay.
was asked to be returned, and then the car was returned to the rental agency.
Were you two together when the car got returned to the rental agency?
Yes, we were.
And these trips to Niagara Falls and New Hampshire, was that with you or alone or with someone else?
He drove the rental car
okay.
to those vacations.
Did you have some engine problem that caused the rental to begin with, or no?
I did. My warranty, I had struggled with Jeep to replace my car and had a whole bunch of dramatic things that started the rental of the car, unfortunately.
And then what?
And I did pay him
And then
$400 in the beginning. I gave him $400 through Venmo, which I sent you the copy of the receipt for, towards that rental car in the beginning. And then he no longer required any more from me from that after that at that point. Then when I moved out and I left him, he decided...
Why did you say in the answer to the complaint that your car was repossessed?
It technically was...
That's not what you were saying. You were talking about, okay, which is it? Okay, go ahead.
No, I understand what you're saying. My car was repossessed through the payments, through the time period that it went through of trying to get it repaired. The payments had stopped, and the car was repossessed at that point.
Okay, but so your position is the only reason the car was stayed there is because he was using it and he liked it and he liked driving it. But then what were you driving? If Jeep never gave you back the car and the car got repossessed, what were you driving during this time?
I was driving this car intermittently back and forth to work only because I was working from home. I didn't need a car any longer.
And then he's driving two cars?
He would drive whichever one suited his needs at the time.
Okay. Are there any texts between you two, Mr. Curtin, that would show that you were expecting her to pay more towards this rental agreement, which incidentally is entirely in your name?
You'll notice, if you can refer to Exhibit A, you'll see that the additional driver and phone was listed. I did not drive that
Yes, I know,
car.
but you're the renter. Yeah,
Right.
additional driver was
I
definitely
didn't-
listed.
Right. So
Okay. Did you ever drive the car?
maybe once or twice. Like I said, I drove the car once up to Niagara Falls for a weekend and maybe one other time. The car was in full use of Ayn Rand phone.
Okay.
The
Can
car
you
was rented
maybe
for
give
rent.
me some idea of why I should, you've got two very diametrically opposed stories. According to her, she no longer needs a car. You're driving it and you are jointly as a couple deciding to take it to New Hampshire on trips and everything else. And she's shocked and appalled that all of a sudden you're telling her you have to pay the whole car. In fact, according to you, you think he's only doing it because you ended up dumping him, correct?
Correct. I didn't
Ms.
necessarily
Rempel?
dump him, but I found him to be dangerous. He became an alcoholic. I found out he had been cheating on me the entire time that we had been dating. And he had
How did you find out he had been cheating on you the entire time while you had been dating?
Other women that he had dated had sent me proof and messages, and he had been on dating sites the entire time we were together. I found out, which I didn't know because I had gotten off of them immediately, but found out later that he had been on them the entire time. And he had in an evening that he was very intoxicated, injured our neighbor at the time to the point that his shoulder was dislocated. He needed surgery and bit him in the face.
What happened that he hit the neighbor? What had happened before that?
I didn't see the incident that started the argument. He was over for dinner, and supposedly the neighbor had hit him in the back of the head, tapped him, and it just set him off, and he chased him to the next door neighbor's house, knocked him down, and Steve has then needed surgery after that to repair his shoulder and had a bite in the face. That scared me to a degree.
And had a
that I
bite in
just,
the face? Is that what you said?
He bit him in the face, yes.
Oh, goodness.
And dislocated his shoulder.
Mr. Curtin, did you want to respond to that in any way? I don't want that to just be out there without a chance to respond.
Exactly. To be honest with you, that's really irrelevant to the case. I was hit by a neighbor unnecessarily. I don't think it's pertinent really to what we're talking about here. We're talking about...
That's okay. I just wanted to give you a chance to respond because she's accused you of all these things.
Yeah. I mean,
you don't want to, are there criminal charges pending?
The man is known.
Are there
for,
criminal charges pending on this? Yeah. Okay. Are the criminal charges still open, Mr. Curtin?
They're bilateral charges. He attacked me. I defended myself. So there is a court case based on that. It was unnecessary. The man is known to have.
Who's
some type of
charged in the court
sociological
case?
issues.
Who is the defendant in the court case? Who was criminally charged with
It
this?
goes
You or him?
it goes both ways. It goes both ways.
So
They
he
were
is the
both arrested.
defendant in his case? They were both arrested and they were both charged by the prosecutor? How is
Right.
that even possible?
In fact-
because your
in fact,
theory is
in-
either
in-
he started it or he started it. It can't be,
Well-
they both
Well,
started
I mean
it.
that. With all due respect, Your Honor, I don't think that really has any pertinence to what we're talking about here. We're talking about.
But you know what? I'll be the judge of whether something has pertinence or doesn't have pertinence. But thank you for your concern. So, Mr. Curtin, why shouldn't I believe Ms. Ranfone when she testifies that it was for her use only for a few weeks and then it was your problem after that? Tell me, is she not trustworthy? Why is it I shouldn't believe her?
I have a car. I own a Volvo SUV. I don't need two cars. She did not have a car. And in fact, I believe that her car, the engine did not go. I think that was just more of lies. I believe the car was repossessed, as I believe it was funded by her ex-husband, who probably stopped paying for it and it got taken from her. And so she gave me a story that the engine blew, and that went on for several weeks, just continued lies. And so what gets me here is if we can also refer to Exhibit B.
Which is?
It's financial records, right? It's monies that she owns. It shows a balance of $348,909 from a Merrill Lynch account. So I don't know why she came to me looking to rent money.
I don't know. You're in the best position to know that. How did you get your hands on her financial records, first of all?
He stole them.
And take copies of them to be able to use them in court against her.
We were living together and all her documents were in the house. On September 11th.
So if you had seen her documents, Mr. Curtin, why is it that you would put the car in your name? That only hurts you. I mean, that makes it sound like maybe the car was for vacation.
Okay, well, on September 11th, she told me that she had to go to work for a board meeting or something at 6 p.m. at night, which was also a lie. She didn't have a board meeting. She's not on the board where she works. That was just more lies. I also had a conversation about 3 weeks ago with a fellow by the name of that she had also been in a romantic relationship with that he confirmed since June, long before all of this happened. So
you put into evidence a news article. What is this about?
there's also another case going on regarding her with Capital One. Not only did she lie about
What you put into evidence some. No, you let me finish. I'm driving the train. You put into evidence a news article which you've called Exhibit C. What is this about?
I am trying to show her character. Exhibit C shows an arrest that she had back in 2013 and 14, where she became the treasurer of her son's high school lacrosse team, from which she was arrested for stealing $4,000 out of her son's lacrosse team's account.
Ma'am, is that true?
So at the time that occurred, I will not deny that it occurred. At the time that occurred, I was going through a 2.5-year battle of my mother having cancer and raising my children at the same time. The lacrosse club card was in my wallet at the same time as my other card, and I was using, in not thinking, the lacrosse club card accidentally. Instead, I had put it in the wrong slot for a period of time. When they accused me of doing this...
How many times can that happen by accident? Who would see the statements? Only you?
The treasurer for the lacrosse club was getting the statements. I wasn't seeing the statements at the time. I was just carrying the card at the time. So I know it makes no sense at all, but can I explain in full?
Oh, it makes perfect sense. It just doesn't look very good. But go ahead.
No, it doesn't. No, I understand that. So what happened was when they accused me and they brought this to my attention, the police department, I had no knowledge of what I had been doing. When I found out that I had been doing it, we admitted to it. I was charged. I said I was guilty because I had done it, and we paid every dime back with extra money because it was money that we thought was my husband and I, my ex-husband and I. We paid every dime back immediately because I admitted to it.
Were you convicted or were you not convicted?
I was convicted, yes.
Oh my gosh, your son had to be so humiliated.
Yes, he was. Very much so. Very much so. It was a horrible, horrible circumstance of events for my children.
Is he still playing for the same lacrosse team?
This was years ago. My son he played for the same lacrosse team. I went back on the board. The coach had me back on the board afterwards when it was all corrected and fixed. He went on to play college lacrosse for years after that. Yes,
Good
it
for
was
your
a
son.
horrible circumstance. My ex-husband and I
Okay,
paid
folks.
every dime back. We
Why
realized
would
the
he?
accident.
Why would Mr. Curtin rent a car for you when your Jeep went in and he already has a car? Why would I believe, at a minimum, that this is a joint expense if he's also driving it and you're also driving? Why would I? What do you do? I just don't move from the house, Judge. I don't need a car. When we know that you moved from the house because that's why the car was rented to begin with. So I'm not buying that. So why would I not, at a minimum, believe that you're jointly responsible for the bill? Why would he have to eat the whole bill of a second car that he has just for your use?
I wouldn't say that he would have to eat the whole bill. And he has a Venmo receipt, and I sent a Venmo receipt that I originally paid him $400 towards the
Do
beginning
you
of the
acknowledge that
rental
she
of
paid you
car.
$400 for the rental of the car, Mr. Curtin?
The $400 that she gave me was towards back rent for her living with me in contribution to the expenses of my
You had
Okay,
already said
so
that
now
you
let's
were not paying
see.
rent.
I'm sorry. No. Let's see. Does anybody have a proof of the Cash App receipt or whatever app you used?
Yes, I have the receipt. It actually has a picture of a car attached to it because it was for the car.
Okay.
You see it?
Yeah, I do. And it says thanks, and it has a little car because it vroom. So that doesn't look like it's rent. It looks like her notation when she paid it was about the car. All right.
No.
And I have emails also saying that he acknowledges that I had sent him the $400 for the car.
Can you hold the email up? Is it an email or a text, ma'am?
I have it on my phone as an email.
You have one more week if you do not forward 2170. Wow, that would show you to be a liar on the 400 and the rent, Mr. Curtin, because you're suing for 2570, and there's the text where you specifically acknowledge that 400 was for the car because the amount you are saying she owes you is minus $400.
That was when I realized I applied the $400 to back rent. I had several conversations about her, about contributing to the expenses here. That money went for back rent.
No.
The $400 was not credited.
Stop talking, please. Both of you stop. I'll decide whether it gets credited. Both of you stop talking. Based on the testimony I've heard, I find that both of you were using the car. I don't think you escape it just because you paid $400 at the beginning. I am going to find that the full bill of $2570 is going to be borne by each of you half and half. That means that your portion of the bill will be $1,285.19, ma'am. I'm going to deduct from that the $400 that you already paid, and that means you still owe him another $885.19. That is my judgment.
Ms. Ranfone, let me ask you how you feel about this.
Semi okay. I mean, I did drive the car for a period of time, and I thank her for acknowledging that it was not me the entire time. Mr. Curtin is still will not allow me to have my possessions back from his home because of this, which is part of another problem that I have. So I am hoping that with this case being ended, that I am allowed to be able to go back and retrieve my belongings.
All right, so you know the judge's decision. Now let me talk to Mr. Curtin. Mr. Curtin, how do you feel about the outcome of the case?
Well, obviously I'm disappointed. And I took her in thinking that this was going to be a good relationship. And since the beginning, she had ulterior motives.
What have you learned from all of this?
It has obviously I'm still single. So it has caused me to have a different approach with respect to dating.
All right, Harvey, what do you think?
Doug, we have talked about this before. When you move in with somebody, look, most of these relationships just don't work. It's sad to say, but it's true. Think about how many times you had a boyfriend or a girlfriend and you broke up versus a relationship that lasted forever. I mean, that's just the rule. That's just what happens. And because of that, you need to establish financial ground rules when you move in with somebody. Who is responsible for what you're allowed to take if things don't work out. I know that sounds uncomfortable, but trust me, watch this case, and this is your option.
Hey, judges, during these COVID times, can a business refuse to serve me if I don't want to wear a mask? Thanks, Tanya in California.
Well, Tanya, a private business can tell you to do all kinds of stuff. They can say no shirt, no shoes, no service. And they can certainly say you have to wear a mask. Even if there isn't a state or federal order or local order that requires mask wearing, they could still say it, as long as they're not doing it in a discriminatory manner against a protected group of people. So I would say, yeah, you're going to have to put the mask on.
And Tanya,
right?
how
Probably
about
for your own good,
how about
too.
a little courtesy? Because my mask is for you and your mask is for me.
Right.
So when you walk in and say, "Well, I'm not wearing the mask," it's not that you are saying I'm a free person and I have the right to make myself sick. It's that you are saying, I don't really care if I make the rest of you sick. I mean,
And you also, you check your First Amendment rights and things like that at the door when you go into
your
private
rights end
business.
where
You
other
can't say-
people's rights begin.
Right.
Well, I mean, you and I are sitting at a restaurant. The tables are 6 feet apart. It's outdoors.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And the manager comes up to our table.
Oh, I remember this.
Okay?
Yeah.
Leans over me, pulls down the mask and says, "Are you enjoying your meal?"
Right. He got right in your grill.
Right in my grill. I'm like, "Well, I was until now."
Yeah.
Why are you? Oh, I'm sorry. It's just that people can't hear me unless I go. No, that's exactly when you have to keep your mask on.
Right.